How's it going, fellow traders? It's Magic Trader here, and this is the Forex Market Outlook video for Thursday, July 26th. So let's take a look at what's going on in the markets here. So we had gold responding from this weekly area of demand. We were expecting a push to the upside, and we got somewhat of a push. Okay, we see that push coming in here, but now we're getting a momentum shifting down to the downside here on the daily chart. And so there's a reason for this. We do know that eventually we are expecting this weekly area of demand to be taken out, and for us to see price push a little bit lower. But I don't think that's going to be happening just yet. Okay, so taking a quick look at the US dollar, you'll see why gold is dropping right now. Okay, so price was heading down and tested the ascending trend line that we were able to determine was the trend line that the institutions are watching. Okay, so we had the start of the trend line here, second point here, and then when it came down here, we realized yes, indeed, this is the trend line that the institutions are watching. And so the latest two valleys are these two here, this one and this one, and price is now responding from that trend line right here. So I think what's happening here, very likely what's happening here is, well, we know that we know that retail traders always buy when price hits a trend line. So I think it's very likely that what we're seeing here is the retail traders buying, wanting to take the US dollar higher. Now we had an institutional supply zone here that was used to drop price, but since it was tested, it wasn't meant to hold very long. That's why it got taken out, and so now we have a new area of demand down here. Okay, higher up we just have tested daily supply here. I'm expecting price to potentially go all the way up here before reversing back down and then eventually breaking that trend line. So they're not breaking it that easily. Okay, because I thought that there'd be a good chance that what we would see take place here was some consolidation from the institutions and then a drop to attack this area of demand, and then a reversal up and then down. But it doesn't seem that's going to happen just yet. Okay, so still watching this one, waiting to see when the institutions are going to reverse it. It could do this down and then create the supply that I've been waiting for, like that. Okay, so just waiting a little bit longer on that one. So let's switch over to oil. What do we see with oil? So we got that double hit here in the supply imbalance. We got that drop, and we have a momentum shift right here, the cause of the break of the ascending weekly trend line right here. Not a lot of consolidation to the downside, but still considered to be important, and we see that price is stalling right at those levels. So no real trades here on this chart. If I was going to take a long, it'd have to be off of a momentum shift from down here. Okay, off this weekly area of demand. That's the only place I'd be interested in going long. But once price does get down here, if it does get indeed down here, this trend line will be somewhat penetrated, and that's the reason why I'd have to see a momentum shift to take this one long. Okay, otherwise I think what's going to take place is slowly but surely we'll see this area be taken out and a bigger drop in oil like that. Alright, so let's take a look at the Aussie. So on the Aussie, let's switch over to the daily chart. So we have this area of supply holding for quite some time, and it's with good reason, because when you take a look at the other majors, you can see that there's a lot of stalling continuing to take place. Okay, we saw the US dollar hitting that ascending trend line on the daily chart, and so that's causing the reversal. But you can see, and you see the reversal here, but you could see tested here. Now we're further penetration. I mean, a little bit of weakness in the US dollar, and this is going to be taken out, and we're going to see a move like that. Okay, so we also got the tested monthly area of demand, so that wants to push pressure to the upside. Remember, there is that weekly area of supply right above, so we could see up, momentum shift, and then down like that. So in terms of trading any of the Aussie pairs, we want to take into consideration that price is between large demand and large supply. So over the long run, we're going to see a lot of ranging. All right, so when wanting to trade any Aussie pair, we have to take into consideration that more likely than not, the Aussie may become a little bit stronger, but in the very foreseeable future, we're going to see it become weaker. Okay, so taking that into consideration, let's take a look at the Aussie CAD. So what we see is some weakness from the Aussie CAD, and it's dropping from the weekly area of supply that we had mapped out. And so we got that drop from that weekly area of supply, and that was helped by some strength in the Canadian dollar. Okay, so when planning a trade here, is there a trade that we'd like to take? Well, you know, it's very messy. We're falling into an area of demand right now, so we could get a bounce, but overall we're expecting the Canadian dollar to get a lot weaker. Okay, so that would mean a move upwards like this, but there is really no supply or demand to take a trade off of. So we'd have to see momentum shift, a break of the daily descending trend line, creating new areas of demand, and then potentially longs there. Because if we expect the Aussie to stay somewhat in the range, but we are expecting the Canadian dollar to eventually get weaker, weaker, sorry, that could play very well for this one here, this trade like this. Okay, but we're gonna have to wait for that to take place. Again, with here, we're expecting the yen to get a lot weaker, and this one to be range bound, so we could see a move like this, but again, there's no supply or demand to take trades off of. Lots of ranging. Look at that monthly chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months of doing nothing. So not ideal scenarios to put your money in the markets. All right, so let's take a look at the Aussie Kiwi. So I am expecting the Kiwi to get a lot weaker. So if this one stays in a range bound, if the Aussie stays in a range bound and the Kiwi gets weaker, I'm expecting this. I've been waiting for some time for price to get down to this area here, where I'd be taking a momentum shift off of this area on the 4-hour chart for long, but it just has not been wanting to drop, so still waiting for that to take place. CAD yen, expecting the CAD to get weak, but I'm also expecting the yen to get weak, so we're going to see a lot of range motion. So this one is not going to be a good chart to trade. Taking a look at the euro, what do we see here? So we know that eventually we're expecting price to get down, and now we are consolidating with a small push to the downside. Makes sense because we see that on the US dollar, it's reacting for that from that ascending daily trend line. So I am expecting still a move like this, a break of this, and a continuation higher like that. Just need all the other charts to align, mostly the US dollar. Let it do its thing, react off the daily trend line, and then we'll see what factors have to come into place to get things to reverse. Could be just trapping more retail traders into trading in the opposite direction. But overall, over time, I'm expecting the euro to get stronger. Okay, so taking that into consideration when trading the other euro pairs, remember, we're expecting the euro to get stronger. All right, so let's take a look at the other euro pairs. So euro Aussie, expecting it to get stronger, and somewhat of a range for the Aussie. So doesn't that mean there's a higher chance of a move upward than there is downward? We could see momentum shift off of here. Okay? Waiting for price to get down here, momentum shift. That would be a very good trade. Okay? Otherwise, here is the weekly area of supply. Need this area to be taken out, creating new demand, and then taking longs. So that's something I'm watching. I think it could play out very well. Euro falling into weekly area of demand right here. So we could see the euro getting stronger and the CAD getting weaker, which is pretty much exactly what we are expecting, right? Considering, let's flip over to the CAD really quickly, considering we are just about hitting the core of this weekly area of demand, where I think there's a very good chance we see a move to the upside. So that would mean a weak CAD. And take a look. Let's just go back to the US dollar here. US dollar weekly up and then mostly consolidating for weeks. CAD. Go to the CAD. Oh. Let's see. Everything's frozen. With the CAD, you take a look at the weekly chart. It wasn't weeks sideways. We got to push. Okay, so it's more likely to get weaker than it is than the US dollar, right? Again, a long time going sideways. US CAD, not as long. So it's more inclined to get weaker than the US dollar. So if the US dollar does indeed drop to where I am expecting it to drop, we could see less weakness in the CAD than we are going to see in the US dollar. So taking that into consideration, Euro CAD move upwards is very likely. And then you look at the charts and you see this non-2-to-1 weekly demand zone, new trend line, which I should shift and change like that. And if we get a momentum shift like this, break of the trend line, we could get a really nice jump on a long position here. So I'm going to watch the Euro CAD for a long. And let me just update my notes. Okay, so let's take a look at the euro now. So expecting the euro to get stronger, but we're also expecting the pound to get stronger. So it's difficult to trade this one because we're expecting both to get stronger. Okay. The only thing is that I think downside here is somewhat limited considering where the monthly area of demand is. You look at the euro and you see how much of a drop it's got. So I think over time the euro will be getting weaker than the pound. So I think eventually we're going to see a move lower like this. Right now, weekly area of supply holding price. Where are we allowed to take a trade here? Well, I think we would at minimum need to see this trend line be taken out, new zones being created, and maybe something like that. But if this zone was taken out and the trend line taken out, once price gets to about here, I'd be looking at the euro, looking at the pound charts to see if it makes sense that this plays out like this. And if the dynamics on both of those charts are aligned with this, then I would take a short trade. But we'll wait and see how that looks at the time. So we have the euro kiwi. Let's take a quick look at the kiwi, right? So expecting a move up, but limited, right? Because we got all this supply here right above. So longer term, we're expecting it to get weaker, right? So if we take a look at the euro kiwi, we're expecting the euro to get stronger. So very good chance this gets taken out and a move upwards. But we're not just going to buy expecting that. We'll wait until this weekly area of supply gets taken out, creates new demand, and then we can get in. So stronger euro over kiwi. So this is what I'd need to see, at least that weekly area of supply be taken out. Euro yen. Expecting euro to get stronger, yen to get weaker. So we could see a further move like this. It's possible. We've got this trend line here. This is the zone responsible for taking it out. Let's do that. Yeah, so it removed the weekly demand zone. Or, sorry, weekly trend line, descending trend line. So watching this one, but overall they're eventually both going to get weaker. I just think that the yen is going to be a lot weaker because, again, just like with the CAD, comparing the CAD to the dollar, we're hitting demand right now. Okay, demand. And on the weekly chart, we've been going up when the US dollar was going sideways. So this is just inching and ready to go higher. Just itching, I should say, to go a lot higher. So weak euro and weak yen. So we could see continuation of sideways moves. Or I should say strong euro and weak yen. So we could definitely see a move to the upside, maybe even testing this area here. But eventually a weak euro and a weak yen. Difficult chart, not even trying to trade this one. Looking at pound, we are reacting from a daily area of supply. I said we should be careful because there's going to be a push lower. It removed a 4-hour demand zone, and I mentioned on Twitter the reason being is because this area of demand did not make a 2-to-1 move away. Okay, it would have been higher odds if price would have closed up here and then this, because even though we have a daily area supply in control, we also have a weekly area of demand in control. Okay, so right now price can easily drop down here to this area of demand, and then we can see a move like that. Day traders, watch for 1-hour momentum shifts down this area. May take some time to get down there, but if that does indeed play out, it'll make a nice long trade. Okay, because I do eventually believe we are going to see a push higher, a break of that, creating new demand, and then a bigger move higher. So taking into consideration, I'm expecting a strong pound. Okay, it's going to have some obstacles to take out first. So rough ride to the upside, but strong pound. Looking at the pound, remember, strong pound, and we're looking at the Aussie, and we see a lot of range-bound motion in its future. That could lead quite well to a move like this on the pound Aussie. Need this daily area of supply taken out, leaving new areas of demand, and that could be a nice long right there. Okay, we do have the monthly trend to the upside. Alright, so watching for that. Pound CAD, strong pound, weak CAD. This weekly area of demand, watching that. Trend line, break, new areas of demand off of, has to be off of here. So it's got to come down. New zones, break of a trend line. I'll take longs then. Otherwise, I'm waiting. Okay? Can't go long or short because we're in the middle. Here's supply. Here's demand. Try to take any trades in the middle of it, you're in trouble. So I'll go long if it gets to here, only on a momentum shift like that. Okay? So let's take a look at the pound yen. Strong pound, weak yen. Very likely we see momentum shifting and a move up, but no demand to take a trade off of. So wait for this weekly area of supply to get taken out, new demand, then take longs. Pound Kiwi, strong pound, weak Kiwi. Wait for this area of demand to be taken out, new areas of demand, take longs. Okay, weekly is tested deep, but monthly trend is up. So we want to take longs, right? and it matches. Strong pound, weak yen, weak kiwi matches up. But we just can't go long here, right? Because price can go easily like this if it wants to. So we wait for obstacles to be taken out, new areas of demand to be created, and then we can take trades. US CAD. So this one falling very close towards this weekly area demand, technically being hit because of the tops of the wicks here. But to know for sure that this is going to be the area that's going to be the launch pad, I'd like to see this trend line be taken out. This area to be taken out, ideally. Retrace to demand and take longs. Had an institutional trade signal to go short off of this area here. Played out very well. Fell just short of hitting the target here. Price came up. What ended up happening is it tested a 1 hour supply zone that was responsible for removing this 4 hour demand, and then it dropped. Bulletproof target hit and just fell short of hitting that target. I do believe it's eventually going to go lower, so eventually that target will be hit. So some members took and got in the trade earlier and they closed it down here, so congrats to those traders that did that. US dollar Japanese yen officially hit the weekly area demand, so we could just see slowly build to the upside, right? We got this area of daily supply at the top here, responsible for removing this demand. For long trades up to here, it could work, but we would need to see at least this area get taken out and then buy here. Okay, so we could definitely get some longs here. Just need the right setup. Kiwi. So what do we see with Kiwi here? We see daily area of supply is in control. Tested weekly area of demand is also in control. Expecting price to eventually go lower, but in the meantime we can get a reversal up to the weekly area of supply and then momentum shift and a drop like that. Not tradable at this time, so I'm just watching it. US Swiss franc. Tested monthly supply, tested weekly supply, and expecting somewhat of a drop here. A lot of sideways, just like the US dollar. So if we do get a drop, break of this trend line, we could get some supply here if it goes like this. Entry would be here, and exit would be here. So watching for this type of scenario to play out. Alright, this week was pretty decent. We got some moves in the market. We also got the rate released from the euro. So we're still waiting because the markets are still consolidating. But I gave you the high probabilities of what is going to play out based on the cut data and supply and demand. And hope you keep your eyes on the same markets as I will be, because I think they're going to be some very high odds scenarios playing out soon. Alright, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, have yourself a great day.